It's helpful when you get packages from Amazon to have your guard cat guard them. Isn't that right, Leo? Huh? Isn't that right? You're my guard cat, aren't you? Yeah. Yep. Thank you. It's crazy to think that it has been almost 3 months since I've done anything with this car. It was August 24th when I took it to the track, and it's been sitting here patiently ever since. And I guess now we're into what they call build season. Yeah, that's my heater over there making noise, so just bear with me. But I have some projects to work on, and one of them I'm going to do is cover my fuel lines with some fiberglass heat shielding. I bought an off-brand, pretty good price. You know, I had some name brand on here, and it's flaking apart, so I don't have much to lose by using this off-brand. So we're going to cover these fuel lines, especially, you know, ones that are next to the hot stuff, like the upper radiator hose, and then I'm going to cover this one where it goes down in by the exhaust manifolds, because when the car gets warm, my Aeromotive A1000 fuel pump likes to run on for a few seconds after I shut the key off, and it only does it when it's warm, and I think it's because the fuel's getting hot and it's making the pump run on, because my relay's good. The wires, you know, correct gauge. I can't find anything else wrong. I guess maybe it might be an ignition switch thing, but like I said, it only happens when the car is, when it's hot, when I've made some passes and I've, you know, been on the gas a little bit. So we're going to do that, and I've also got a heat sink that I'm going to add on the fuel return line back at the back by the fuel pump. Hopefully it will you know, cool the fuel as it's going back into the tank. So let's get started. I purchased some inexpensive heat shield sleeving on Amazon in 1" and 3/4" sizes to cover all the fuel lines that are close to, you know, hot components in the engine bay, in an attempt to cool my fuel down. First thing I had to do was cut off some of the heat sleeving that I had put on the car that was pre-existing. It had kind of started to delaminate and you know, come apart, so I just want to get it all cut off. Keep in mind while you're working with this that it does have fiberglass fibers in it, and that is a skin irritant, so if you have sensitive skin, you want to make sure you wear at least disposable gloves, and you can just chuck those when you're done installing this new sleeving. And this new sleeving has hook and loop Velcro type fasteners on it, and I just want to slide it onto the lines, figure out my length, and then I'll just cut it with my tin snips, and we will fold it around the fuel line and move on to the next section. My return fuel line's attached to the rear of the fuel rails, and I want to make sure that the heat sleeving is covering the passenger side return line, because it runs along the top of the engine, and you know, that's a source of heat, so I want to avoid that if all possible. With the passenger side return line now covered with the heat sleeving, I want to turn my attention to the driver's side return fuel line. This product is easily cut to length with just a simple pair of tin snips, and I'm sure even a pair of scissors would cut right through this. The heat sleeving came with some metal ties, but I'm just using regular plastic zip ties because that's what I used before and they work just fine. Now I'm going to cover the feed line, the fuel feed line that is, for the passenger side fuel rail. It runs along the front of the between the radiator and the engine, so I want to kind of protect that a little bit. And it comes in as a single feed line, and then it Ys right here to the driver's side and the passenger side fuel rail. I need to make one last adjustment to the length of the shielding on this fuel line, and it'll be all done. My feed line for my fuel, it comes from the fuel cell in the rear of the car, and it is a 12AN line, so I had to use the larger 1-inch diameter heat sleeve shielding for this, and I'm only covering the part that comes closest to the the exhaust manifold and the engine block as it passes down under the car to the transmission tunnel and then on its way back to the fuel cell. Oh, let's see what's up on.
Joey Hovey, out of Paradise, California, the 70 Camaro on the left lane. That thing's been down the racetrack pretty well as well. Now, remember, this.
Well, I've got all of the fuel line shielding installed in the engine bay. The Velcro is really nice on it. I was very pleased with that. I thought maybe the cheaper brand would have a lesser quality Velcro, but the Velcro works very nice. And I have it on the main feed line too. It's going down under the car there because it goes pretty close to the exhaust manifold. And I ran it on this line down here too because it's next to the hot side of the radiator hose. So hopefully this helps me out. Alrighty, so this is my return fuel line into this questionable fitting here. I'm surprised that's not leaking. And it goes up here and goes up in the top of the tank. That's my vent. So I need to undo this, and we're going to attach it to the heat sink and mount that heat sink right in here. I'm installing the Derale Performance Dual Pass Aluminum Heatsink Cooler. It's a 17-inch long cooler. It has external and internal heat dissipating fins. It's a compact size of 3-inch diameter, so it'll fit most frame rails, and it'll fit perfectly in the spot I have planned for it. And it has two 1/4-inch MPT inlets that I'm going to thread AN fittings into. Go in there. there was an existing hole right here that I thought the sheet metal screw that I had picked out would run right in there, and as you can see, it would not. The drill wouldn't drill it in there, so I ended up having to drill the hole out just a little bit bigger so the sheet metal screw would run its way up in there.
Okay, now why wouldn't that go in there? Well, come on. I'll get tight or not.
Now, this isn't an exact science for me. I have a drawer with random sheet metal screws in it, and I just grabbed something that I thought was close. So it took me a few times to find one that worked for, you know, what I needed it to do.
Okay, let's try this again. Got tight. That's good. That's good. That's real good. Okay, now we drill another hole. Tight. That's great. That's nice.
Well, of course, this random screw I grabbed out of my drawer was not the right size.
You know what? It probably should. No. Alright, I'm going to use a little bolt as a spacer. I'm sorry, a nut as a spacer. You know what? May not get one. We'll just do 3.
I only mounted it with 3 of the 4 mounting locations because the 4th one had a factory hole stamped in place of where I wanted to drill the hole.
That ain't going nowhere. Nah, that ain't going anywhere.
Yes, I know I'm about to use an adjustable wrench on an AN fitting, which is a no-no, but I don't have the size AN wrench that I need for this particular fitting. Yes, I'm quite aware that it is frowned upon to use thread tape on fittings that will be used for fuel line.
I've already installed one AN fitting on the end of the AN line that I'm about to use, and I'm holding it up in place to mark where I want to cut it to the proper length. These are the two AN lines that I fabricated to scab the heatsink into the existing fuel lines. It'll make it a little more sense when I show it all put together. This is the part I'm looking forward to. I'm gonna wear a bunch of this. Yeah. In the past, it seems that whenever I worked with fuel line, you know, taking it off the car or changing things, whatever, I ended up getting bathed with cold fuel. So I put on crappy clothes to, you know, throw away if I needed to, and here I am getting rags and
let's get a pan just in case.
Even a drip pan,
Just in case. We'll do that. That'll help. Okay, so what I want to do is, do I want to put them on now and then put that guy out there? Let's consider that.
Some might say that I'm talking to myself. I consider it talking over possible scenarios out loud to myself. Sorry about this poor camera placement. Part of what I'm doing is outside of the camera frame, but what I'm doing is you know, just connecting the new lines to the existing AN line.
I need to put this guy up there. Did I tighten this dude down? I don't think I did I?
You might be wondering about the fuel that I mentioned earlier. When I took all those lines apart, not a single drop came out. I have a feeling it was because the car had set for 3 months since I had ran it, and the way the return line has ran, the fuel just, if there was any in there, it did not spill out when I undid the line.
Alright, let me show you the completed heat sink for the fuel return line. I have added these two fitting here and these two lines, and they just, if you can see it, I don't know, they tie into the existing lines that were here, so I don't have to replace that entire line that runs up to the front where the fuel pressure regulator is. So hopefully this makes sense, and hopefully it'll keep my fuel cool.
We have Firebird decals, and I'd love for you to have one. You can get one at my eBay store at the link in the description below.